And welcome back to the channel. It is me, Ron, yet again here to scream at you loudly about decks and Cardfight Vanguard. Today, we're just going to be going over Levidras in the year of our Lord and Savior 2025. My current thoughts on it, the current take on the deck, and just some ideas I have for when we eventually do most likely get the restrictions that Japan has, because I know currently we don't, but there is there's a conference coming up soon enough, so we'll probably be getting it, or they'll be like, sorry about all the squeaking, my chair's too squeaky, or we'll be getting a reversion on the Japanese side, which I don't think is likely to happen because this deck is really overpowered. Not so overpowered that it beats everything in the format, but it's really, really strong. And so I don't think it particularly needs to get hit, but I don't think it particularly needs the reversion since they're going to continue to give it support. So, you know, just kind of my thoughts on that, where to go, where we're at currently. And since I haven't done a proper deck profile on here for Levidras, we're going to go over all the cards in great detail. Got our energy counter. You'll want a generator as well instead of just the counter, but I have like a lot of decks put together, so I only have so many energy generators themselves. When I go to tournaments, I make sure that each deck that I am bringing has it, but that's aside. So you will need these Infinity Eyes markers. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. 8 is a pretty good number. I've been playing for a while with Empireo, and I haven't needed more than 8 yet, so good amount. Continuing on. We're going to need the Levidras ride line. We're starting with Stagnipper Dragon. Generic grade 0, you know, it does what it do. When wrote upon, if you want second, go draw. And getting into the grade 1, we've got Scorepiercer Dragon. If your soul has Stagnipper Dragon, when you would ride Mantis Scythe Dragon from the ride deck, you can ride without discarding a card from hand. Okay, cool. So you discard to ride into your grade 1, and then when riding to your grade 2, it's free. Pretty cool. Good shit. Then Mantis Scythe Dragon. When wrote upon by a grade 3 card with Levidras in its card name, Energy Blast 3, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose up to one grade 3 or less card from among them, reveal it, put it to your hand, and shuffle the deck. Yeah, so just pretty good plussing or not minusing from your ride line. You know, you don't have to discard, you get to add a card. All in all, I think it's really good for a ride line, even though this costs Energy Blast, and we use a lot of energy in the deck, but that's aside the point. It's a good card. It's really worth running the ride line, so you want to run the ride line. So then we've got Destined King of Infinity, Levidras Empireo, and he's got 3 abilities. Firstly, Continuous Vanguard Circle. This unit is also regarded as Destined 1 of Infinity Levidras. During your turn, this unit gets power plus 5k for each regular Destined 1 of Infinity Levidras in your soul, and it gains all of their divine skills. So you're riding this in your ride line, which means you're pretty confident you're going to see the other one do put to your soul so that you can get his divine skill. We'll get there, and we'll go over what that's about. Then act Counterblast once per, or act Vanguard Circle once per turn, Counterblast 1, or put a card from hand into soul. Choose 2 of any player's rearguard circles and put an Infinity Eyes marker on each of them. If you put a grade 3 or greater card with Levidras in his card name for the cost, choose 3 rearguard circle instead of 2. That's super important. If you're going first, you will want to put your other copies of him to soul to generate 3 on your first turn, more than you'll want to have that for Persona Ride for later. It's really important that you get 3. Promise. Then auto Vanguard Circle. When any player's unit on a rearguard circle with your Infinity Eyes marker attacks or boosts, you may have that unit get plus 10,000 or minus 10,000 power until the end of that battle. If your opponent's unit got minus 10,000, remove one of your Infinity Eyes markers from that rearguard circle and draw a card. Does it say you may draw a card? No, you draw a card. It's forced. So you can deck yourself out with this, but all in all, pretty strong ride line. You see, with this, you get to copy previous cards' abilities, so you've got that. You've got your plussing off of your ride line, your anti-minusing off of your ride line, and then you get your card draw from your Empireo. So, yeah, so far, seems pretty solid, right? Getting right into the grade 3s, we've got 3 more copies of Persona Ride, because we're going to Levidras max. because we have to. 4 copies of the original Levidras, and let's go over him real quick. He's got 3 abilities, excuse me. Destined, 1 of Infinity Levidras. I love Levidras. I wanted to get higher rarity for all of the deck as much as I could, but it ended up being like one of the most meta-defining decks when it had first come out, so I didn't really get a chance to. Not the end of the world. Anyways, act Vanguard Circle once per turn, counterblast 1, choose one of your rearguard circles and one of your opponent's rearguard circles, put an Infinity Eyes marker on each of them, then auto Vanguard Circle. Same skill as that last one on Empireo, you know, the drawing a card for the markers. Then lastly, Divine Skill. This is the one that really matters. Act Vanguard Circle. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, Soul Blast 1, choose one of your rear guards and one of your opponent's rear guards, put an Infinity Eyes marker on each of them. This unit gets power plus 10,000 and critical plus 1. So you're mostly running it because obviously if you put this guy to your soul, you get to steal, or you get plus 5k for each one in soul on your Vanguard that you're on. You get to steal his Divine Skill. You get to generate 3 markers. So we're Levidras maxing, so you have 7 chances of hitting your Levidras to, you know, blast your opponent with. You know, it acts as like a force marker. That plus 10k power is not a little number. It's really big, and it scales crazy into the late game. And then lastly, we've got 4 copies of Knight of Formosity Charmnet, and she is the card that is in question that's going to potentially get hit, so we'll go over some cards you can replace her with if she does get hit, but that'll be later. Act Drop Zone. If there are 3 or more of your Infinity Eyes markers, so see, we need to have 3, and you do not have a rearguard with the same card name as this card, Soul Blast 1, call this card to Rearguard Circle. Then auto Rearguard Circle when this attacks. If your Infinity Eyes marker is in the same column as this unit, retire another rearguard. This unit gets power plus 10k until end of battle. At the end of that battle, retire this unit, draw a card. So this is your insane draw, insane attacker, you know, ridiculous jazz. So you see you're running way too many grade 3s, but it balances out because this guy's just going to go to your soul, this guy's going to end up being your Persona Ride, and this guy's going to draw you back cards as well as hit really hard. Like, genuinely, without triggers, I see myself hitting 60s and 70s depending on the day and the situation. So, it's really strong, promise. Getting right into the grade 2s, we've got 3 copies of Azure, Sky, White Scale, Aspronia, and Saphira. This is the craziest generic card, and it's super pricey, so I apologize that this deck needs it, but yeah, it really does. When placed on Rearguard Circle from hand, other than during the battle phase, look at the top card of your deck, put it on top of your deck, or discard it, then counterblast 1, perform one of the following. Choose a normal order from your drop zone, put it to hand, or choose a grade 2 or greater card from your drop zone and call it to Rearguard Circle. So in the early game, if you discard any of your grade 3s, you can then call this bad boy to field, check the top. If it's a trigger, leave it on top, or if it's not, discard it to help you stack triggers early. And then you can call a grade 3 from your drop zone, because it says very specifically choose a grade 2 or greater card from your drop zone to call to Rearguard Circle. I think that's amazing. 12 out of 10. Really good card design, really strong rearguard, because, you know, free-ish field is always strong. Then we've got 4 copies of Onfall Anotogaster, your strongest grade 2 rearguard. And that's with quotation. That's up to. They're all really strong. Don't mind me. The coolest looking grade 2 rearguard. Haha, isn't he pretty? He has 2 really strong abilities. When it's placed on Rearguard Circle, if your Infinity Eyes marker is in the same column as this unit, Energy Blast 3. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck. Choose a card from among them. Put it to hand and put the rest on top or bottom of the deck. Then this unit gets power plus 5k. So on place, plus 5k makes him a 15k. Top 2. 1 to top or bottom, and 1 to your hand. So Energy Blast 3, draw a card of your choosing, and then 1 to top and 1 to bottom. That's insane, right? You get to stack the deck, OTT style. And it's not crazy stacking, but it goes crazy, promise. Then continuous Rearguard Circle during your turn if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Levidras in its card name, and there are 3 or more of your Infinity Eyes markers. This unit gets power plus 5k. And if your back row has no other rearguards with the same card name as this unit can attack from the back row. So, you've got your multi-attack right there. So that's 4 attacks now, right? And we'll get more, promise. But that's 4 attacks with him. So you're going to want to usually have him like back, left, or right, and then be able to attack with him in the back row at your opponent. And then Charmnet can swing boosted by something that we'll get to, retire him, and then retire herself, and then the thing that boosted, Squirrel, we'll get to it eventually, will move itself over here to this open rearguard circle. But we'll get there. Like I said, it's a crazy deck. It's got some fun combos. Gaster is probably the craziest grade 2 based on what it does, but then we've got Skulk Claws Huntsman Huli. She is really strong as well. And you might be thinking, a single rare? Are you sure? Yeah, absolutely, I'm certain. When it's placed on rearguard circle, if your Infinity Eyes marker is in the same column as this unit, counterblast 1, choose up to 1 grade 3 or less card from your drop, call it to rearguard circle. If there are 3 or more of your Infinity Eyes markers plus 10k power. So 20k attacker, just like this guy. I mean, if you use both of his ability, if you use his first ability and you have 3 markers, he's also a 20k and can attack from the back row. So I think he's stronger, but you can use her to get him back. So it depends on what you would consider to be stronger. She's also really strong, but then we've got Acquired Pantherad. He's one of the newer support cards. When it's placed on a rearguard circle with an Infinity Eyes marker, he gains plus 5k until end of turn. If your Infinity Eyes marker is on another rearguard circle in the same column as this unit, choose one of your other rearguards and it gets plus 5k until end of turn. So power boosting for your other rearguards as well as for himself. Auto rearguard circle at the end of the battle. This unit attacked. Retire this unit. Look at the top 7 cards of your deck. Choose up to 1 grade 3 or greater card with Levidras in its card name from among them. Reveal it, put it to hand, and shuffle the deck. This card is really good for early game, so that you can guarantee seeing your Levidras to put to soul. And yeah, he's worth your while. I don't think he's so crazy that like we want to max out on him, but if we start losing Charmnets, he's one of the cards you can consider putting more of in the deck. He's a good attacker, and then if you call him down early, you don't get any of the power, right? Because you need Infinity Eyes markers. But you can, end of battle, it attack, retire itself to look at the top 7 for a Levidras. And considering how many Levidras you run, you're pretty likely to see it. So, good card, good card. Then lastly, for our grade 2s, we've got Protection Twin Cast. This is just a double guard. This card is insane. Choose one of your units being attacked plus 10k until end of battle. And then continuous, this card's auto ability can be resolved, even if you have resolved a Regardless ability this fight. Auto drop zone when your unit is attacked. Remove this card from drop zone, so it's like remove it from game. Choose one of your units being attacked and it gives power plus 5k until end of battle for each grade of that unit. So you choose your Vanguard and it'll gain 5k for every grade that your Vanguard is. So for example, Levidras, he'll gain 15k. Just the double guard is really crazy, really strong, and I mean we're maxing out on grade 3s, so yeah, it's pretty worth your time. Getting into the grade 1s, we've got 4 PGs, one of them being an Elementaria Sanctitude. Who would have thought? It's a D-series deck. Isn't that crazy? And then we've got 3 copies of Full Knowledge Foxhill. This card is your other multi-attacking boy. He's beautiful, first and foremost. He's gorgeous. I love him. Continuous rearguard circle during the battle. This unit boosted. If you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Levidras in its card name, this unit gets power plus 5k. Sorry, if you guys heard a loud bang, I apologize. They're doing construction outside of my place. I can't do anything about it. They're just replacing the road. Sometimes it's just what you gotta do, right? Then second ability, when this unit boosts a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Levidras in its card name, if your opponent's rearguard circle has an Infinity Eyes marker, this unit gets plus 2k until end of battle. Then counterblast 1, choose one of your back row rearguards, and until end of turn, that unit can attack from the back row and gains 10k power. So you've got a 5 attack deck if you have this card and Gaster on field. But what's that card that makes everything stick together? Inquisitive Squirrel. And I'm running 2 copies, okay? This is going to sound really silly, but like I've seen a lot of people running more copies. You run into a situation where you only have 1, and then you keep cycling it to field and from drop zone back to field with all of your other cards. And so it gets pointless to run more than 2 copies because how much you dig, you eventually see your Squirrel. And usually it's by turn 4 or 5, And because of the card draw that you have, and because of how tanky this deck can be, you will see your Squirrel, and you'll have the, like, Exodia turn, is what my friend called it. So thanks to her for that. One ability. Auto rearguard circle once per turn. At the end of the battle, this unit boosted. Soul Blast 1. Move this unit to an open back row rearguard circle. If you moved it to a rearguard circle with your Infinity Eyes marker, stand this unit, and this unit gets power plus 5k until end of turn. Cool. Easy peasy. We'll get into a silly combo, just so that you can understand how it works, but we'll get there. Lastly, we want to go over our triggers. 4 heals. Oh, no, I'm dropping it. 4 draws, because, again, we want to see Squirrel, so I run the draws instead of the fronts. Also, since you want to stack your power on Squirrel, you run the draws. 4 crits. 3 more crits, bless favor. Easy. So, real quick, I'm gonna get this situation set up, right? Just doop. Got 1 Squirrel, 1 Foxel, and it is pretty reliable to be able to have this type of a field, so just bear with me on it. We're gonna say you got this in Soul. It's important to the whole thing, right? I don't know, let's just say you got this. So that way we make our numbers nice and easy. So you got your turn set up, right? You got some cards somewhere, right? Let's say you used this last turn. We should have a Persona Ride for this turn, because usually it's by your later game you get to this. So this is in your drop zone. I'll turn it sideways to show that it's in drop zone. And let's say this is in drop zone too, right? So you got this hand, and you're like, well, I can't really do too super much, but we're going to Persona Ride, and then draw a card, and we're going to draw the OT and be very sad. Oh no, I'm so upset about this. I'm going to call Foxil, and then, well, maybe you already did do this, maybe you didn't do this, but you have this, you have your Divine Skill online. You can then use... Gravy. I feel like a dingus trying to set this up, but... You've used your abilities. You have 1 on your opponent's rearguard, 1 on this, 1 here, 1 here. You use your Divine Skill, Soul Blast 1, and gain 2 more. 1 more for your opponent and 1 for yourself, and you put it on Foxil. And then you can use another Soul Blast to grab your Charm Net from drop zone, call Squirrel from hand, use Saphira to check the top deck, check the top card of your deck. Oh no, it's a grade 2, put it in the drop zone, and then Counterblast 1 and call him. So you've used a Counterblast 1 and a Soul Blast of 2 to set up for your turn. And we're gonna put like 1 trigger and 1 not trigger on the deck just for funsies, because it's funny. He's been placed, you're gonna use your ability to check top 2, and you're like, oh, there's a trigger and a non-trigger, so I will add the non-trigger to my hand and put this back on top of my deck, because I'm allowed to stack my deck, right? So then we're gonna just go ahead and go right into it. You're gonna swing with your Vanguard, boost with Foxil. Foxil's gonna give a 15k boost, and he's gonna have a 5k boost because of the Levidras and Soul, so you're gonna be 18 plus 15 makes 33. Plus Persona Ride, 43. Plus the marker, because he can still... Or does it say that you can do it on boost, right? Attacks or boosts. Okay, cool, yeah. I thought I was doing it right. So you got... you got your 33, 43, 53. Plus 10k and a crit from your Divine Skill, 63. Counterblast 1 gives Squirrel plus 10k and the ability to attack from the back row. Okay, so you got 63. Big swing. Scary. I stacked the deck with a trigger. Let's say they didn't, or they PG'd this, so we're going to put a critical here and the power here on Squirrel. And then second check, no trigger. Wow, who would have thought? It's a setup situation. Of course, it's no worries. So we're going to swing here. This is going to be 30k, right? Kind of disappointing by comparison to the previous number. We're going to swing here, using her ability to retire him and gain 10k power. So this is going to be 10,000, 13,000, or 23,000. Persona, 33,000. Its own ability, 43,000. Trigger, 53,000. Foxils plus 10k, 63,000. Plus 8k, 71,000. Crazy. End of battle, retire, draw. Then, Soul Blasting 1, standing, moving here. And even if it moves, it keeps its power gains. So you're going to be like, wow, that's crazy, right? So then you can swing here for 33k, and then because it also has the ability to attack from the back row, you could then just swing, this is going to be 13k on its own, 13, 23, 33, 43, or you could boost this 33k, or this 30k with a 43k booster, thus making it 73k. So this combo goes hard. It's really hard to survive. You've got 3 60,000 plus attacks, and if you do it that way, or instead of doing it that way, you can have 2 60,000 plus attacks plus having this. However, if instead of that you had her, you could retire this on swing to swing for an enormous number. So let's see, this would be 10, 20, 30, 43, plus this is 10, 13, or 13, 23, 33, 43, so we've got 43 plus 43 makes for 86. It gets crazy, and then you can retire and draw again, and you've just built back your hand. You know, 2 of these were your drive checks, but you drew 4 cards off of things like Persona Ride and etc. So it's a really strong deck. I think that, after that also you've got these 2 where you can minus your opponent's power and draw 2 more cards. So it's a really strong deck. I do still think that if it gets hit here in English, I will continue to play it. Like I said, I could go over some things that you might want to potentially run in the deck if it does get hit. So we're going to bring over the binder. Woo! I've got all my Stoicheia cards in here. So first and foremost, you're not going to run Lascaria cards. Doesn't make sense. You're not going to run any of these Codex cards. Doesn't make sense. You could run more Pantherad. You could run Clarence. You could potentially run, this is one of the coolest orders of all time, and it makes me sad that you don't really run it, Searching for Infinity Knowledge. Energy Blast 2, if you have a Vanguard with Levidras in its card name, choose a card with grade less than or equal to your Vanguard from Drop Zone, College Rearguard Circle, power plus 5k until end of turn for each of your Infinity Eyes markers in the same column as that unit. So on your turn 3, typically it'll be plus 10k, and then past that it'll probably be more. You could add 1 more Squirrel and 1 more Pantherad. You're not going to add most Leonoran cards, although you could run him, because if you have back row grade 1 rear guards, he gains shield, but he's pointless. Fairy for early game rush. You're not going to run Argo Siren cards. They're just not worth it. Can't add more triggers, because why would you be allowed to? No more PGs. Diantha would be a solid option, but if you run Diantha, you might consider Countercharge. Early game rush, if you're running orders, free field, although you have a ton of free field, uses energy, generates energy, so you could potentially change your build to generate energy and then add in the order card, and then revive your Squirrel with plus 15k to have like a really, really, really heavy turn. Returns orders to hand, free shield, free shield. She also searches for Charmnet, so that would be helpful. You could max out your copies of Saphira. Blitz orders support mostly, free field, uses energy or counterblast, probably not worth it. Uses soul and then makes it so your opponent's rearguards can't stand, so it's not horrible, but it's not great. We're not gonna bother doing the what's it called? I don't remember what it's called, but it's like the hostage build. I don't think it's worth it in Levidras, especially because most of the time you want to have specific cards on your field. He maybe your lettuce boy wouldn't be a bad idea, because he does a lot of things for power gain for your cards that are called off of abilities or not placed from hand, and you saw that we just built a field off of like nothing, so that's cool. Inlet Pulse could be more Soul Charge and Draw, but you're running more grade 3s. However, if you're replacing Charmnet with another grade 3 that is just going to draw you more cards, it's basically doing the exact same thing, minus the extra... my brain cells aren't working, I'm so sorry. Minus the extra power. The card that I'm most likely to run, Mythiarch Habitat, is top 7 cards of your deck for an order or a card to field. I think it's probably the best way to go, humble opinion. Field from Drop Zone, part of the Hostage build, Blitz Order that's not really helpful. Other Regalis pieces I wouldn't particularly recommend unless Shiranui becomes meta. I mean, Bob Sagra is pretty meta right now, so maybe you would run Angel Ladder. But if you're running Angel Ladder, you probably won't want to run Mythiarch Habitat, and you'll want to look towards other support. Caliburn maybe, so that you could dig through your deck a little bit better, but again, just run Mythiarch Habitat, and then your tokens and your Dragon Tree marker. So you got some general jazz that could work really well for the deck, and you got some general jazz that I would highly recommend if you have, if it does get hit, it'll be worth your while to go for it. And those things would be maxing out on Squirrel, unless Squirrel gets hit, maxing out on Pantherad. Not that he's perfect, but he does help the deck, build up more of its own jazz. It kind of plays like Great Nature in the way that you retire your own stuff for power gains, so it's like finding a nice balance between retiring your own stuff and also building a board for free. So all in all, I think the deck is crazy strong. I would love to see some future support where maybe you get a card that will retire itself to energy charge, so that you could maybe it's like when you guard with it, you can energy charge, because then you'll have a good guard card that you can then call to field to do something. Maybe it'll have some sort of other ability. It'll just be like plus 5k on field or something. Nothing too crazy, because you don't want to make it too insane. Because if you do that, and it's like an energy charge of 2 anytime you guard with it, you can then use your free field makers to call it back to field and have a plus 5k on field, and you then energy charge to be able to run the order card. Alternatively, they could just make a different order card that works better with the deck and is like, if you have a Levidras on your Vanguard and a different Levidras in Soul, this card can be paid, the cost is free, or some shit like that. Either way, let me know what you think in the comments down below, if you think my list is scuffed as hell, or if you think I'm on the right track. I'm probably only going to change it if they really release new support or provide a ban list that affects me personally. So again, thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate anyone who stayed this far into the video. If you learned anything about Levidras, I'm glad that you did. I'm glad that I could take the time to make this video, so I appreciate you all for watching, and have a nice day.